The stars stretched endlessly across the black sky as the human spaceship slowly descended toward the alien planet. From space, the world looked peaceful, almost beautiful, with swirling blue oceans and towering green mountains. But the humans knew better than to trust appearances. Inside the ship, the crew was tense. Soldiers checked their weapons nervously, scanning the control panels and looking out at the strange, glowing forests below. Captain Reynolds, a tall, strong man with gray streaks in his hair, stood near the cockpit window, his eyes narrowing as he studied the landing zone. "Remember," he said quietly, more to himself than anyone else, "we are guests here. One wrong move and everything could go wrong." The humans had been sent to meet the leaders of this advanced alien race, a race rumored to be both wise and dangerous. They had been told that their mission was simple: make contact, ensure peace, and protect the alien queen if needed. But simple never felt simple on this planet. As the ship touched the ground with a soft thrum, the crew could feel a strange vibration under their feet. The air smelled different, like metal and flowers mixed together, and small glowing lights flickered in the forests nearby. No birds sang. No animals ran. Everything seemed quiet, too quiet. The humans stepped off the ship, their boots sinking slightly into soft, glowing soil. Captain Reynolds led the way, followed closely by his guards, their rifles ready but their hands trembling slightly. The forest was alive in ways they could not understand. Strange shapes moved in the shadows, too fast to see clearly. Leaves shimmered with colors that humans had no names for, and faint whispers seemed to drift on the wind. It was beautiful, but it also made the human skin crawl. Something was watching them, something that did not belong to this world. After walking a few minutes, they reached a clearing where a huge palace-like structure rose from the ground. It was made of materials that looked like crystal and metal fused together. Light reflected off its surfaces in 1,000 colors, and the air around it seemed to hum softly. The humans had expected an alien city, maybe some buildings or streets, but nothing could have prepared them for this. Even the guards, who had faced hostile worlds before, exchanged uneasy glances. "It's beautiful," whispered one of them, almost afraid to speak too loudly. But beauty was not comfort. The clearing felt like a trap, like the planet itself was testing their courage. Then they saw her, the alien queen. She stood at the top of a wide staircase that led into the palace. She was tall, taller than any human, with a form that shimmered like liquid light. Her eyes glowed softly, intelligent and ancient, and she held herself with a grace that made everything else around her seem small. The humans froze. Some of the guards took instinctive steps back, while others raised their weapons slightly, unsure if this was a greeting or a challenge. Captain Reynolds stepped forward slowly, his hands empty to show peace. The queen's gaze swept over them like a soft wind, yet it felt sharp, like it could pierce through bone. The silence stretched. For a moment, nothing moved except for the gentle flicker of the alien lights around her. Then one of the younger guards whispered, "She's not like anything we've seen before." That was the truth. She was unlike any being in the galaxy, both frightening and mesmerizing at the same time. The humans realized that this queen was not just a ruler. She was a force, and their mission was no longer about diplomacy. It was about survival. Suddenly, a distant rumble echoed through the forest, and the humans instinctively looked toward the shadows. Movement flashed between the trees. Something large, fast, and very alive was approaching. The guards gripped their weapons tighter, fear rising in their eyes. Captain Reynolds motioned for calm, but his own heart beat faster. The queen did not flinch. She simply raised one delicate hand, and the rumble stopped. Silence returned, but it felt heavier, as if the planet itself was holding its breath. Then the unexpected happened. One by one, the guards began to step back, their faces pale, their fear too strong to ignore. "We can't stay here," one muttered. "This isn't what we signed up for." Captain Reynolds turned to them, shouting for them to hold their ground, but many were already running toward the ship. The forest seemed to stretch endlessly behind them, hiding dangers they could not see. In that moment, all eyes turned to a single human who did not move. He was younger than most, an engineer named Aaron, not trained for combat, but he had something stronger than fear, courage. He stepped forward slowly, keeping his eyes on the Queen. She had already noticed him, and there was a small, almost imperceptible nod from her, as if she knew he would stay. The guard's panic faded into the distance, leaving just Aaron standing in the clearing with the alien Queen and the unknown dangers lurking in the forest. The Queen's voice, soft but clear, floated through the air, almost like music. "Only one can protect us now," she said. Aaron felt a chill, realizing the weight of what was about to happen. He looked at the glowing palace, the dark forest, and the fleeing guards, and he knew there was no turning back. Something big, something dangerous, was coming for them, and the fate of an entire alien race rested on his shoulders. As the wind whispered through the trees and shadows shifted in the distance, Aaron took a deep breath. This was the beginning of something that would test every part of him: his courage, his mind, and his humanity. And there was no room for fear. The forest around the palace seemed to breathe as the humans stood frozen, watching the alien Queen. The air was thick with tension, and even the glowing lights that danced among the trees seemed to flicker nervously. Aaron, the young human who had refused to flee, felt his heart pounding, but his mind remained sharp. Behind him, the sounds of panic grew louder. One by one, the guards who had initially followed Captain Reynolds began abandoning their posts. They didn't run blindly. Some whispered urgently to one another, voices trembling. "This isn't right, something's wrong here. We need to get out." Their steps quickened, and in moments, most had vanished into the shadows of the forest. The crunch of leaves and the soft hum of their radios faded, leaving Aaron alone with the alien Queen. He realized that fear had become contagious, stronger than loyalty or duty. It had driven trained soldiers into fleeing, leaving only him behind. The Queen's glowing eyes focused on him, calm yet filled with an intelligence that seemed to see straight into his mind. "Do not fear," she said softly, her voice echoing in the still air. "You are needed." Aaron swallowed hard, feeling the weight of her words. Needed. It was not a choice anymore. It was a responsibility. Every instinct in him screamed to run, to follow the others, but he knew that the moment he moved, he would betray the trust of a species far older and wiser than humanity. He tightened his grip on the small energy tool he carried, not as a weapon but as a piece of hope, something he could use to defend both himself and the Queen. The forest was quiet, but quiet was never safe. Shadows twisted among the trees, moving faster than any human could see. Aaron's eyes darted from one movement to another, trying to predict danger, while the Queen remained serene, as if she had already measured every risk. A low growl broke the silence, rolling through the forest like distant thunder. Aaron froze. The growl was not of any animal he had ever known. It was deeper, darker, almost alive with malice. Then, from the corner of his vision, he saw movement, shapes gliding among the trees. They were fast, sleek, and unlike any creature from Earth. Their eyes glowed faintly, reflecting the light of the palace, and their bodies seemed to shift like liquid shadow. The guards' panic now made sense. These creatures were not simple predators. They were hunters, designed to track and eliminate. Aaron realized that every step he took had to be careful. One wrong move, one loud noise, and they would be overrun in seconds. His mind raced, thinking of strategies, but the Queen spoke again, her voice calm and melodic. "Do not underestimate them. Fear will make them stronger. You must be stronger than fear." Her words were both comforting and frightening, because he knew the truth in them. Aaron stepped slightly forward, testing the creature's patience. They paused, tilting their heads as if sensing his courage, or perhaps sensing that he was alone. The Queen glided slightly toward the edge of the clearing, her form casting a shimmering light that pushed back the shadows. Aaron followed her lead, staying close, every muscle tensed, every sense alert. Suddenly, a branch snapped behind them. Aaron spun around, heart in his throat, but it was only a small animal darting away. Yet the tension did not leave him. The forest was alive with things he could not see, and he knew the creatures could appear anywhere at any moment. He looked back at the path the guards had taken. Their fear had saved them, perhaps, but it had left him vulnerable. He was alone, and the responsibility of protecting the queen rested entirely on his shoulders. Hours seemed to pass in minutes. Aaron and the queen moved cautiously through the clearing, every step deliberate. The palace shimmered in the distance, a beacon of hope and danger at the same time. As they walked, the queen spoke quietly of her world, of the balance she maintained, and of the dark forces rising in the shadows. Aaron listened, absorbing every word, realizing that this mission was no longer about diplomacy. It was survival, strategy, and courage beyond anything he had known. Then, without warning, a loud roar echoed through the trees, closer than before. The creatures had found them. Aaron dropped to one knee, scanning the forest for movement, and the queen's glow brightened slightly, almost protective. The shadows leapt forward, and for the first time, Aaron truly understood that the world he had stepped into was alive, intelligent, and merciless. Even as panic threatened to rise, Aaron remembered the queen's words. Fear would only make them stronger. He took a deep breath, gripping his energy tool, and stepped forward, ready to face whatever came from the darkness. The guards might have fled, but he was not running. He would not run. The queen's safety depended on him, and he had no choice but to stand tall, even if the odds were impossible. The creatures were coming, moving closer, silent and swift. The forest seemed to close in around him, but in that moment, Aaron felt something strange. A flicker of courage, the realization that humanity was not weak, that one person could make a difference even against overwhelming odds. And then, in the distance, a shadow larger than the rest appeared. Aaron froze. The first true challenge had arrived. He looked at the queen, who gave a small, almost imperceptible nod. It was time. The human who had stayed behind while all others ran was about to face the darkness of an alien world, and there was no turning back. Aaron stood alone in the clearing, the alien queen's glow illuminating his face as the shadows of the forest shifted all around him. The distant roars of creatures echoed through the trees, reminding him that every second counted. He felt the weight of responsibility pressing down on his shoulders like a physical force. The guards had run, leaving him alone to face dangers he barely understood, but he could not turn back. Not now. The queen's eyes, glowing softly like twin moons, were fixed on him, and in that moment, Aaron realized that he was not just a human standing in a strange forest. He was the last hope for a world he had never known, for a queen he barely understood, and for a race that depended on courage, not fear. He clenched his fists and took a deep breath. Every instinct screamed at him to flee, but a voice inside him, something stronger than fear, told him to stay. The forest seemed to react to his decision. The shadows paused, as if waiting, measuring him. Small flickers of movement darted between the trees, but Aaron refused to look away. He focused on the queen, who began to speak in her melodic voice. "You are the one," she said. "The others fled, but you remain. That is why you are needed. Your courage is rare, even among humans." Her words were strange to him, almost unbelievable, but they carried a weight that he could feel deep in his bones. Courage, responsibility, hope. The forest seemed to exhale as if acknowledging his choice. Yet, even with her reassurance, Aaron knew that choosing to stay meant danger was coming, and it would come soon. He scanned the area, searching for anything he could use to defend them. The alien palace behind them shimmered, its light reflecting off the forest floor, casting long, shifting shadows. Aaron realized that the forest itself could be used as an ally. Fallen branches could become barriers, rocks could serve as weapons, and the strange glowing plants might distract the creatures if used carefully. He began to move slowly, keeping his steps quiet and deliberate. The queen followed, gliding beside him with a grace that made her seem untouchable, yet vulnerable because she depended on him. Every instinct in him screamed to panic, but he forced himself to think clearly. Each decision mattered. Each step could save or doom them. Suddenly, the first of the alien predators appeared from the shadows. It moved faster than Aaron could track, its eyes glowing like molten fire. Its body seemed almost liquid as it slid silently toward him. Instinctively, Aaron raised his energy tool, aiming not to kill but to push the creature back. A sharp flash of light shot out, and the creature recoiled, letting out a high-pitched screech that echoed through the forest. Aaron felt a surge of adrenaline. This was his moment. If he faltered, the queen would be at risk. But he did not falter. He remembered the queen's words. Fear would make them stronger. He focused, using quick movements to confuse the creature, keeping himself and the queen just out of reach. It circled, tested him, but did not attack directly. It was smart, calculating, and that made it more dangerous than any brute force. Aaron's mind raced. He realized that brute strength would not save them. He had to think, to outsmart the predators, and to stay one step ahead. He began leading them through the forest toward the palace, using the trees, rocks, and shadows as cover. Each movement was calculated, and each decision carried the weight of life or death. The queen's presence beside him reminded him why he could not run. She depended on him, not just for protection, but for hope. As they moved, Aaron noticed the remaining creatures beginning to gather in the shadows, watching, waiting. Their numbers seemed to grow, and the forest itself seemed to darken as if preparing for an attack. Then came the moment that defined him. A huge predator leapt from the trees, faster than his eyes could follow. Aaron barely dodged, feeling the wind of its movement brush past him. He knew he could not rely on luck alone. Using his quick thinking, he grabbed a nearby glowing plant and hurled it toward the creature. It burst in a flash of light and smoke, blinding the predator momentarily. The others hissed, startled by the sudden illumination. Aaron realized he had found their weakness, distraction, clever use of the environment, and unwavering courage. He smiled slightly, despite the fear gnawing at his chest. He could do this. He could protect the queen. The queen's voice floated through the clearing again, calm and melodic. You have chosen well. Humanity's courage is rare, but in you, it is shining brightly. Aaron felt a strange warmth at her words, a mixture of pride and responsibility. He glanced at the shadows moving around them and made a silent promise. No matter the danger, no matter the fear, he would not run. Not today, not ever. The forest was alive with threats, but Aaron was alive with courage. And for the first time, he felt the quiet thrill of being exactly where he was meant to be. As night began to fall, the forest grew darker, the sounds of distant creatures growing louder. Aaron tightened his grip on his energy tool and took a step forward. The queen's glowing form illuminated the path, showing him that even in the darkest shadows, light could lead the way. He was alone, yes, but he was not helpless. He had chosen to stay, and in that choice, he had become the last hope for the alien queen. Whatever came next, he would face it, not as a scared human, but as someone who had decided to stand firm, who had decided to protect life, hope, and courage itself. The forest waited. The predators watched. And Aaron walked forward, ready for the challenge that would define him forever. The forest around Aaron and the alien queen had grown darker, shadows stretching and twisting as if alive. Every sound seemed amplified, the rustle of leaves, the distant crack of a branch, the low growls echoing through the trees. Aaron's heart pounded in his chest, but his mind stayed sharp. The creatures that had been watching them were now moving closer, faster, smarter than he could have imagined. They were hunting them, not randomly, but with precision, almost as if they understood his every move. The queen glided beside him, her light illuminating just enough of the path ahead, but it also cast long shadows that made the predators harder to see. Aaron realized that he could not outrun them by speed alone. He had to outthink them, stay ahead with every step, every decision. Panic would mean death, and he refused to panic. Suddenly, a creature leapt from the shadows with a speed that made Aaron freeze for a fraction of a second. It landed mere feet away, its glowing eyes locked on him. The human reacted instinctively, swinging his energy tool in a wide arc. A flash of light burst from it, causing the predator to hiss and retreat for a moment. Aaron didn't wait. He grabbed a fallen branch and flung it into the shadows, creating a small distraction. The other creatures hesitated, giving him a chance to move. He led the queen down a narrow path between glowing plants, using the forest itself as a trap and a shield. Every step required careful calculation. The predators were intelligent, they learned from every action. Aaron understood that each small victory bought him only seconds, but seconds could mean survival. The queen spoke softly as they moved. They are not mindless. They test, they adapt, and they remember. Stay ahead, human. Your mind is your greatest weapon. Aaron swallowed, absorbing her words. He had never faced anything like this. His muscles ached from running. His mind burned from constant alertness, but he forced himself to stay calm. The predators were relentless, slinking through the shadows, almost gliding silently across the glowing forest floor. Aaron led the queen toward a narrow gorge, hoping to use the terrain to their advantage. The creatures followed, faster than he expected. He could hear their breathing, or perhaps it was some kind of sound that mimicked it, and the tension pressed on him like a weight. As they ran, Aaron noticed subtle patterns in the predators' movements. They preferred flanking, isolating, and hurting their prey. He thought quickly, using fallen logs and glowing plants to create barriers and false paths. He darted between trees, leading the predators into traps he had set in mere seconds. Each time a creature lunged, he reacted, dodged, or distracted it, buying precious moments. The queen's light shimmered brighter when they passed obstacles, as if guiding him, giving him hope. Despite the fear, Aaron felt something stirring inside him. A strange mix of thrill and determination. He was human, yes, but his mind and courage were becoming a weapon as sharp as any blade. Then came the moment that truly tested him. A massive predator, larger than the others, dropped silently from a tree branch, landing directly in their path. Its eyes glowed red, its body radiating a dangerous intelligence. Aaron froze for a split second, then remembered the queen's words. He had to be clever. He threw a glowing plant at the creature, blinding it for an instant, and dove to the side. The predator roared in frustration, pounding the ground, shaking the very earth. The others circled, testing their prey. Aaron's chest heaved with exertion, but he could not stop. Each breath, each movement, each decision could mean life or death, not just for him but for the queen and her people. Aaron began to climb a steep slope, leading the predators toward a narrow cliffside. Their size and speed worked against them in the confined space, and he used this advantage. Rocks and branches became weapons, carefully placed to slow them down. The forest echoed with roars and hisses, the air thick with tension, but Aaron never looked back. The queen's presence was constant, a reminder that he was not acting recklessly. He was protecting life. Every leap, every dodge, every clever trap pushed the predators further from her. And then, just as the creatures seemed poised to overwhelm him, Aaron reached a plateau where the palace's glowing towers were visible above. Light spilled down, illuminating the forest floor and confusing the shadows. For a moment, the predators hesitated. That hesitation gave Aaron the edge he needed. Breathing heavily, sweat stinging his eyes, Aaron stood with the queen at the edge of the plateau. The creatures watched, their eyes glowing in frustration and fury. He had led them into a position where the forest itself protected them, where the predators could not reach without exposing themselves. Aaron realized he had survived the chase not because of strength, but because of intelligence, courage, and a refusal to surrender to fear. The queen's voice floated to him once more, calm and melodic. "You have done well. This was only the beginning. The true challenge is yet to come." Aaron nodded, understanding that the chase had tested him, sharpened him, and prepared him for what lay ahead. But even as relief flickered through him, the shadows shifted again. He knew the danger was far from over. Aaron's gaze swept the forest, every rustle, every shadow a potential threat. He tightened his grip on his energy tool and took a deep breath. The predators had tested him and he had survived. But the forest had secrets still, and the queen's people were counting on him. Courage had brought him this far, but now strategy and endurance would be his weapons. The chase was over, for now, but the war for the queen's survival was only beginning. And Aaron, the human who had refused to flee, was ready to face it all. Aaron stood at the edge of the plateau, his chest heaving from the chase, but there was no time to rest. The forest below had gone quiet, but the silence was heavy, almost unnatural. The queen's glow illuminated his path, casting long shadows that flickered like warnings. The guards were gone, vanished into the dark forest, leaving him completely alone with a responsibility far greater than he had ever imagined. Fear tried to creep in, whispering that he was too small, too weak, too human to face what was coming. But he pushed it back. He had stayed when others fled. He had survived the chase. And now, more than ever, he understood that courage was not the absence of fear. It was the choice to act despite it. The queen floated beside him, her eyes calm and knowing. "They are coming," she said softly. "The darkness that hunts my people has sensed your courage. You are alone, yes, but your mind and heart are strong. Trust them." Aaron nodded, gripping his energy tool tightly. The first of the dark alien forces appeared at the edge of the forest, tall, armored creatures with glowing eyes and limbs that seemed to bend unnaturally. They moved with precision, their intelligence almost human, their presence terrifying. Aaron realized that these were not the predators he had faced before. These were leaders, warriors sent to capture or destroy the queen, and now, because of his decision to stay, they were testing him. The stakes had escalated beyond anything he had imagined. Aaron's mind raced. He could not outrun them, and he could not fight them all at once. He scanned the terrain quickly, searching for advantages. Fallen logs, narrow ledges, and glowing plants became tools in his hands. Every trap, every move had to count. The first wave of creatures approached, stepping carefully, testing the ground. Aaron waited until the perfect moment, then triggered a small rock slide, forcing several of them to stumble and giving him precious seconds. The queen's glow intensified, her light shielding them subtly, confusing the enemies. Aaron felt a strange connection to her, a sense of shared purpose that gave him strength. Even though he was alone in numbers, he was not alone in spirit. As the dark forces advanced, Aaron realized he needed a plan beyond simple defense. He could not just react, he had to be proactive, using the terrain to funnel the attackers into narrow paths. He forced them to expose their weak points. He darted between shadows, striking with his energy tool only when necessary, using quick thinking and cunning rather than brute force. The creatures hissed and roared in frustration, their intelligence making them all the more dangerous, but Aaron adapted, learning from each movement, predicting their attacks, and exploiting their weaknesses. The queen floated close, her presence calming him, reminding him that strategy and courage could overcome even the most overwhelming odds. Hours, or perhaps minutes, time felt distorted, past in tense silence broken by sudden flashes of attack. Aaron moved with precision, always thinking, always calculating. He realized that his humanity, his ability to improvise, and his refusal to flee were his greatest weapons. The creatures had never faced an opponent like him. Someone small but clever, someone guided by courage and hope. One by one, he managed to disable or misdirect them using traps, rocks, and quick thinking. The forest seemed alive with his energy, responding to his courage, helping him hold the dark forces at bay. Yet, in the back of his mind, he knew this was only a temporary victory. The main threat had not yet appeared. Then, from the shadows, a massive figure emerged. A dark alien force far larger and more terrifying than any of the predators. Its eyes glowed like molten fire, and its presence radiated power and malice. The ground trembled as it stepped forward, and Aaron felt the true weight of his decision to stay. Every instinct screamed for him to run, but he did not. He stood tall, placing himself between the queen and the advancing creature. His body ached, and sweat stung his eyes, but courage surged through him stronger than exhaustion or fear. The queen's voice was soft but resolute. "This is your moment. Your courage has brought you here. Protect us, human." Aaron raised his energy tool, taking careful aim. The creature lunged, and the battle began. It was not a fight of strength but of strategy. Aaron dodged, feinted, and used the terrain to his advantage. He led the creature into traps he had prepared, exploited its overconfidence, and relied on quick thinking to survive. The queen's subtle support, a glowing shield, a guiding light, helped him hold the line. The dark force roared, struck, and tested him, but Aaron never wavered. Every move he made was deliberate, every action a testament to human ingenuity and courage. He was outnumbered and outmatched, yet somehow he held his ground, refusing to yield. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, Aaron found the opening he needed. With precise timing, he struck the creature's weak point, sending it sprawling back into the forest. The remaining forces retreated, confused and disoriented. Silence fell over the clearing. Aaron's chest heaved, his muscles trembling, but he stood victorious. He had faced the impossible, protected the queen, and survived. The queen's light enveloped him gently, a gesture of gratitude and acknowledgement. You have done what no other could. Humanity's courage shines through you. Aaron smiled faintly, relief and pride washing over him. Alone against all odds, he had succeeded. As the forest calmed, Aaron realized that courage, cleverness, and hope could triumph even in the darkest places. The battle had tested him beyond anything he had imagined, but he had emerged stronger, wiser, and more determined. The queen's people were safe for now, and the bond between human and alien had grown unbreakable. Aaron knew the challenges were not over, but he also knew that no matter what came next, he had proven that one human could make a difference. And with that thought, he prepared for what lay ahead, ready to face the ultimate challenge that would define him forever. The forest was alive with tension as night deepened, shadows stretching across every tree and glowing plant. Aaron stood beside the alien queen, his body exhausted from the chase and previous battles, yet his mind was sharper than ever. The dark alien force had retreated only temporarily, and he knew it would return, stronger and more cunning. He glanced at the queen, who radiated calm light, but her eyes betrayed concern. This was the moment they had both been preparing for, the true test of courage, strategy, and endurance. Aaron tightened his grip on his energy tool, aware that this time, he would face the enemy head-on. The creatures were no longer testing him. They were attacking with purpose, a coordinated effort to overwhelm him and capture the queen. Suddenly, the first wave of dark forces emerged from the shadows. They moved like predators on a mission, sleek, intelligent, and deadly. Aaron acted instantly, dodging a lunge from a towering alien and swinging his tool to create a burst of light, momentarily blinding it. The queen glided beside him, her glowing hands creating shimmering barriers to deflect attacks. Each movement had to be precise. One mistake, one moment of hesitation, could cost them both their lives. Aaron realized he was no longer just defending himself. He was the line between survival and doom for the queen and her people. Every action carried the weight of responsibility, and every decision demanded courage beyond fear. The forest became a battlefield. Trees cracked and shifted as creatures collided with makeshift traps Aaron had set. Rocks rolled down slopes to slow the attackers, and glowing plants were hurled as distractions. The creatures adapted quickly, learning from his tactics, but Aaron adapted faster. His mind worked like a machine, calculating angles, predicting movements, and finding every possible advantage in the terrain. He was small, human, and seemingly weak, but his intelligence and courage allowed him to turn the forest itself into a weapon. The queen's presence amplified his focus. Her subtle manipulation of light and energy created illusions, confusing the attackers and giving Aaron the edge he needed to survive. Then, the massive dark alien force, the true leader, emerged from the shadows. Its size and power dwarfed the other attackers, and its eyes burned with intelligence and malice. The ground trembled under its weight, and a roar echoed through the forest, sending even the glowing plants shaking. Aaron froze for a fraction of a second, then remembered everything he had learned. Courage, strategy, and quick thinking could overcome even overwhelming odds. He positioned himself between the queen and the creature, understanding that he had to fight not with brute strength, but with every ounce of human ingenuity. He led it through narrow paths, forcing it to stumble, using traps and distractions he had set earlier, exploiting its size and predictability. Every attack had to count, every movement had to be precise. The battle escalated. Creatures lunged from all directions, yet Aaron moved with surprising agility. He used glowing plants as blinding flashes, branches and rocks as barriers, and every shadow as cover. The queen provided subtle guidance, her light revealing weaknesses in the enemy's movements. Aaron began to feel a rhythm, his fear replaced by adrenaline and clarity. He realized that this battle was not just about survival. It was a test of humanity's courage and ingenuity. The massive alien force roared again and struck with immense power, but Aaron anticipated the attack, dodging and using its momentum to push it toward a trap he had prepared. The creature staggered, momentarily stunned, giving Aaron the opening he needed. With precise timing, Aaron struck the final blow using his energy tool, aiming at the creature's weak point. A burst of light erupted, and the dark alien force crashed to the ground, defeated. The remaining creatures hesitated, confused and leaderless. Silence fell over the battlefield. Aaron's chest heaved, sweat and exhaustion dripping from his face, but he remained standing, victorious. The queen floated toward him, her glow brightening in gratitude and relief. "You have done what no one else could," she said, her voice melodic and warm. "Your courage and determination have saved my people." Aaron allowed himself a small smile, feeling a surge of pride and relief. He had faced the impossible, protected the queen, and proved that even one human could make a difference against overwhelming odds. As the forest calmed, Aaron and the queen looked around at the clearing. The dark forces had retreated, and the night air was filled with quiet tension rather than fear. Aaron realized that the battle had tested him in ways he had never imagined. Every choice, every movement, every act of courage had mattered. And now, standing victorious, he understood that his humanity, the ability to think, adapt, and care, was stronger than any alien force. The queen's presence reminded him that courage and hope could shine even in the darkest places. Together, they had survived. And together, they had shown that bravery, intelligence, and determination could triumph even against overwhelming darkness. The forest was quiet now, almost peaceful, though the air still carried the faint tension of what had just passed. Aaron stood beside the alien queen, exhausted but triumphant. His body ached, his clothes were torn, and sweat mixed with dirt streaked his face, but a quiet pride glowed inside him. Around them, the remnants of the dark forces lay scattered, retreating into the shadows, defeated by courage and intelligence rather than strength alone. Aaron realized that every step he had taken, every decision he had made, had mattered. The guards had fled, the predators had tested him, and the dark alien force had nearly overwhelmed him. But he had stood firm. He had protected the queen, and in doing so, he had proven that even one human could change the course of events in an alien world. The queen's glow was brighter than ever, bathing the clearing in warm, shimmering light. She floated toward Aaron, her voice calm but filled with emotion. "You have done what no one else could. You stayed when others ran. You protected my people when all hope seemed lost. You have shown the true strength of humanity. Courage, determination, and ingenuity." Aaron listened, feeling a mix of relief and wonder. Her words were not just praise. They were a reminder that even in the darkest moments, one person's choice could make a difference. He looked around the clearing and saw the beauty of the forest once more. The glowing plants, the quiet trees, the peaceful night sky. For the first time, the fear and chaos that had filled him were gone, replaced by hope and accomplishment. The queen spoke again, her voice gentle but strong. "Your bravery will be remembered. My people will rebuild, and your actions will inspire courage in others, across worlds. You have proven that humanity is not weak, that one person with courage can protect life and hope itself." Aaron nodded, humbled by the weight of her words. He realized that the mission had been more than survival. It had been a test of what it meant to be human. Bravery was not just about fighting. It was about standing firm, thinking clearly, and caring enough to risk everything for others. He had passed that test, and in doing so, he had become a hero not through power but through heart. As the queen floated toward the palace, she turned one last time toward Aaron. "You are always welcome here," she said. "And remember, courage will guide you even in the darkest moments." Aaron watched her disappear into the shimmering palace, feeling a quiet sense of closure and peace. The forest, once a place of danger and uncertainty, now felt alive with hope and possibility. He had faced fear, darkness, and overwhelming odds, and he had triumphed. The lesson was clear. Courage, intelligence, and determination could overcome even the greatest challenges. Humanity, small as it may be among the stars, could make a difference when it dared to stand firm. Aaron took a deep breath and looked at the night sky, the stars twinkling above him. He thought of Earth, of the people who had sent him here, and of the countless challenges that lay ahead in the universe. He knew that he could face anything now because courage was not a gift. It was a choice, and he had chosen it. And with that thought, a smile crossed his face. The forest was quiet, the queen was safe, and the future was bright. For the audience watching, Aaron's story carried a message that was simple but powerful. Bravery is not about strength alone. It is about standing firm when others flee, using your mind, your heart, and your courage to protect what matters. Even one person can make a difference. And just like Aaron, you too can be courageous in your own life, facing challenges with determination and hope. If you enjoyed this story of courage, suspense, and the power of humanity, remember to like this video, share it with your friends, and subscribe to the channel for more HFY adventures. Every choice, every act of bravery, can shine light even in the darkest places, and together, we can explore worlds full of wonder, danger, and hope.